Welcome to the sixth installment of Answers in First Enoch. It is time to discover the Garden of Eden from within the earth, as well as the Tree of Life, which is where? Well, it's in the midst of the Garden of Eden, according to Scripture, abundantly all the way to the end. No, the garden was not moved, did not happen. That's not Bible. It's called Kabbalah, but it is not Bible. Yes, the tree of life remains there to this day. There were angels put there to protect it. That was their sole purpose, was to protect the way of the tree of life. And yet then we're told Yahuwah moved it? What nonsense. That's Kabbalah, and absolutely not Scripture. You'll even see in Revelation very clearly that the tree of life is still there, and it will be open to believers in the end. Again, just like with Adam and Eve after the day of judgment, believers will partake once again from the tree of life. Now, we cover that in a whole video called Is the Garden Still There? So if you're wondering if somehow you've been told, and we know many have, we heard it too, watch that and don't dare try to challenge our position in ignorance, which you haven't even reviewed, because we mentioned it in a sentence here in the introduction of this video. You will be muted if you try. It's our channel, our rules. Respect it. Don't respect it, and be muted. And no, we are not going to apologize for interrupting stupid agitators ever, though they whine and cry in comments all the time. Good. Keep whining. You'll be muted. We will protect our stream, and that's just the way it is. Again, our channel, our rules. So let's go back inside of the earth and continue Enoch's journey here. He has not left it yet, and we will show you when that exit is clearly defined. Not in this video, because we're not going to get there yet, but we'll get there soon. Once again, here is the layout, roughly in diagram, of what Enoch observed regarding the inner earth or underworld, which is not actually scary, but a beautiful place, except that fallen angel prison especially, which does house the lake of fire known as Tartarus or Gehenna, in the lowest hell or the pit at the very bottom. We covered Enoch and the whole of Scripture. Again, watch Where Do We Go When We Die? For mega Scripture that supports Enoch on that. Don't ask us for that Scripture in comments. We're not going to give it to you. We're going to lead you to Where Do We Go When We Die? Because we cover over 7 or 8 videos there abundant Scripture, and there's a massive amount. There's no debating the Bible never says we go directly to heaven or hell, which requires immediate judgment upon death, which does not happen, except in the occult. That's occult doctrine from the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Zoroastrianism, and other places. It's not Bible ever. Even Yahusha says that's wrong. Now, we also covered, when you see the word interpreted hell, you have to look at the actual Hebrew or Greek word, as especially in Greek, Gehenna, where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth on the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, that happens on the day of judgment and not before, is never the general term for the underworld, which is known as Sheol in Hebrew and Hades in Greek. Again, what a messed up paradigm, and the church is responsible. Unfortunately, it's time for denominations to grow up and learn how to read the Bible, because they can't even represent the word hell properly. That's pretty bad. Hades is not some god, by the way, of the underworld, nor is Satan, who never goes there and can't, even if he wanted to. He's not there with a pitchfork and a burning hell. That is illiterate, and again, that is a cult. That is not Bible, and it doesn't belong in the church. They attribute far too much power to the guy. Who would do that is really the question, and the answer is simple. That is called Nephilim doctrine, who prop up their fathers still, yet it's in the church. How to get there? It's pretty disgusting. It is the Nephilim who wish for us to believe they're powerful fathers who were conquered by Yahuwah's archangels. Didn't even need a force of angels. Raphael bound their leader and tossed into the prison within the earth called Gehenna or Tartarus. And that happened at the time of the flood, and they haven't been around since. No one talks to them. No one communes with them. No one prays to them. No one can speak to them in any way, shape, or form. They are nothing. Somehow, we're told they retain some kind of power. No, they don't. Nor do they return. Doesn't happen. They are chained until the day of their judgment, which is the day of judgment, when they will be consumed by the lake of fire right next to them in that chamber. It is possible that there are few in Revelation who are released for an expressed purpose, very limited in the last days, perhaps. However, not necessarily are those angels the watchers, any of them. They have no power, and Yahuwah is supreme, period. Now, how does that get into the church? That's the question. Ask your church. Now, let's start, and remember this is from within the earth. We will fully identify the Garden of Eden in location very soon, but not in this video quite yet. When we get to the directions that Enoch leaves when he is on the surface of the earth. And the markers are here too, though. We're already starting to see them, so we're setting foundation for that now. Now open your book of 1st Enoch to chapter 24, verse 1. It's a short chapter, so is the next one. We're going to do 2, but they're short ones. And from thence I went to another place of the earth. Now he's in the inner earth still there. He doesn't indicate any change in exiting yet, and we will get there, though. Don't worry, I will show you when we're there. And he showed me a mountain range of fire which burnt day and night. Again, he's seeing this lava flow from within the earth. Not a magma sea, but just the volcano, just as volcanoes always do, right? So these are volcanic mountains and an area that is known to be volcanic. That's a clue, but that is not within itself all we need to determine where he is, because again, he's about to tell us exactly where he is. Again, Enoch will lead to this volcanic area, these mountains, or really islands after the flood. There were mountains before the flood. He refers, so that is not a clue yet, until we explore the complete geography of his directions. Now, many do this, and I'm just going to address this quickly. They pull out something like this and draw conclusions, which basically, is illiterate because they don't have enough information to draw a conclusion. And no way to read the Bible or anything for that matter if you want to understand it. But we see this all the time from especially, stupid scholars, because it is stupid practice. That's what it is. If you were giving someone directions and you said, you go down to the convenience store and take a right and then go 3 blocks and take a left. Now, if the driver ignores your directions and decides he'll just go to the end of the block and take a right but miss the left completely, and then, he curses you, of course. Would it not be his own ignorance which led him to the wrong place? Of course it would. We get that almost daily on this channel, by the way, and some from people claiming to be, they may not be, but they claim to be scholars. Yet we follow Enoch's directions. He's the prophet, the first scribe among men, and he's the writer here. So follow what he says, right? I mean, that's pretty simple. If you were the one giving the directions, you'd be a little upset if they came back and yelled at you because they took the wrong directions and they ignored what you told them, right? I mean, that would be ignorance. This is what differentiates finding the truth and propaganda. See, propaganda will seize on fragments out of context and just pull out whatever elements they want. We don't do that. We're accused of all kinds of things, but we prove things on this channel. Like no one else that we've ever seen. I don't know, maybe there are some, but the reality is we have 400 plus videos now, And almost every single one of them drills deeply into each topic that we cover. So, Bible scholars basically, many times, are just not Bible scholars. They have an agenda. They're steeped in a paradigm. That's what they're taught. It's not necessarily that they set out toward that agenda initially. But see, they can't read plain language, not because they can't read. We call them illiterate because of this, though, because they can't see outside of their box. That's why we call them so. And we will continue to do so. Verse 2, "And I went beyond it and saw 7 magnificent mountains." Oh, yes. Now we remember, we're researchers. Don't forget that. We don't claim to be anything else. Nothing. We've never claimed to be prophets. We've never claimed to be preachers, pastors, teachers, any of that. We do teach, of course. But we're just researchers, guys. We research, we test, we prove. That's it. And that's what we're all to do. This is something that can be tested. And that's what we get excited about. And we will get there in a full video. This will lead toward there. We need this detail, though. We'll locate these 7 mountains of Eden, the garden, that is, all differing each from the other, and the stones thereof were magnificent. Now remember, Enoch's view is not mining or drilling into these mountains before the flood. He's underneath the earth's crust, if you will, within the earth, where he does not need to mine in order to see them, like we do from up here, which is obvious. We know this because if you make your way into a cave where there is a diamond mine, for instance, you will see, sometimes diamonds on the walls, those that aren't mined anyway. So understand that. Much in the ancient perspective is completely misconstrued by, unfortunately, academics and scholars who make themselves stupid, who can't think, and don't even understand the paradigms, such as those regarding the land of gold, Ophir. This is a perfect example. They're demanding one produce mining equipment from an era in which no such equipment existed. So they've undermined the entire narrative. The only conclusion, based on their false paradigm, would have to be that there can't even be a land of gold in that era, which is stupid. It didn't exist yet because it didn't need to. I mean, it's a big duh. One could not be more stupid, yet they do this with many things. They set false paradigms no one could possibly produce, and they know that. That's why they set them. And then they draw stupid conclusions from stupid paradigms. That's pretty stupid, right? For gold, for instance, it is well attested that there are ancient alluvial deposits. These are deposits that are sitting on the ground and just below the surface that don't require large, major, massive mining equipment. And there's certain areas of the world that had such, the Philippines being very abundant in such. Now that's just proven fact, sorry, but history records that when Magellan came, his historian, Pigafetta, says that he went to visit a valley in northern Mindanao, and that valley was no mountain, it was a valley, was full of gold. Now, how can that possibly be? And what happened to that gold? Well, duh, what do you think happened to the gold? They picked it up. I mean, is it hard to understand that? I mean, yet historians many times will box in such a ridiculous paradigm of ignorance. And we've seen that, especially with that topic, from several. They could pick up the gold from the ground. Multiple legends even affirm this. So does Pigafetta. More than once, the king of Butuan came and told the story of how he got a gold nugget the size of a chicken egg by simply sifting in the sand or the dirt. So they didn't have to mine. And the equipment needed was a basket. How stupid these academics are, trying to find a basket. Are you kidding? And they don't even know what they're doing. It's time we crush such dumb paradigms and expose these who cannot think. Sorry, but we're just not going to placate ignorance here. And beautiful, magnificent, as a whole of glorious appearance and fair exterior. Exterior from within the earth. Understand that. That is the viewpoint. And imagine the gemstones. Absolutely a fair appearance. Beautiful, I'm sure. A wow, indeed. Now, he'll, in geography, he's going to deal with this, which matches the area in which Enoch says is the Garden of Eden. You're going to see this. This is all going to come together soon. We will map it out and identify this in a coming video very soon. We're almost there. 3 towards the east. So 3 of the mountains, or islands today, are toward the east, one founded on the other. Oh, wait till you see how this fits. And 3 towards the south, one upon the other. And wait till you see how that fits. And deep rough ravines, no one of which joined with any other. Now, where is this? We will see very soon. But let's continue. Verse 3. And the 7th mountain was in the midst of these, so in the middle, and it excelled them in height, resembling the seat of a throne, and fragrant trees encircled the throne. Wow. Now, fragrant trees, you mean like frankincense, which we will show you, in fact, originates in this area in antiquity, not Ethiopia, which is rabbi fraud of the illiterate who have no clue of what they speak. Yes, the time of the Pharisees, because that's what rabbis are, they're Pharisees, they probably were getting their frankincense from Ethiopia, but they don't have a clue about the Bible paradigm because they are foreigners who invaded and usurped the priesthood. They are illiterate of the past prior. They're not Bible experts. They are deceptive, adding to the Bible with their leaven, and never have they ever understood, nor do they wish to, by their own doctrine. Let's be clear. And amongst them was a tree such as I had never yet smelt. This is incredible. Neither was any amongst them, nor were others like it. So this tree is different from anything Enoch had ever seen. Why? Well, it is one of a kind. You will see. It had a fragrance beyond all fragrance, and its leaves and blooms and wood wither not forever. So it never stops blooming. It never withers. Never. What could that be? Wow. And its fruit is beautiful, and its fruit resembles the dates of a palm. That's fascinating. But bear in mind, this is not a palm tree. This is not a date palm. No, not at all. This is not a tree anyone will ever identify as it is unique, and we will not even try. There is only one of this tree. You'll see. Then I said, how beautiful is this tree, and fragrant, and its leaves are fair, and its blooms very delightful in appearance. Then answered Michael. So now we have Michael. Notice that. We covered the archangels, and Michael's place is on the earth, right? Over the best part of the earth, which is the righteous, and he restrains evil, yet he's with Enoch here in the Garden of Eden. So Michael does go to the underworld as well. That's 7 out of 7 archangels. Imagine that. Now, that's Gabriel's territory, however. He's the one who resides there. We covered that. But clearly, Michael can go there too, and that's fascinating. One of the holy and honored angels, archangels, we've covered, who was with me and was their leader. Get that? He was with archangels. Notice. And Michael is known as the leader of all angels, essentially, even the archangels. Understand that. Keep reading in chapter 25, verse 1. And he said unto me, Enoch, why dost thou ask me regarding the fragrance of the tree, and why dost thou wish to learn the truth? Then I answered him, saying, I wish to know about everything. Enoch was very inquisitive. Enoch was brilliant, much smarter than any man alive today, by far. Probably by 100 times. I mean, we're not talking about a remote comparison here. So I wish to know about everything, but especially about this tree. Why? Because Enoch knew this was the tree of life. You'll see. And he answered, saying, This high mountain which thou hast seen, whose summit is like the throne of Elohim, is his throne, where the great, or the holy great one, Yahuwah of glory, the eternal King, will sit when he shall come down to visit the earth with goodness. Wow. And when you realize what area this is, you're going to get goosebumps. Now, we see in 2nd Esdras, Yahusha builds up Mount Zion in the final battle. In other words, it had to be built up, meaning the flood, certainly covered it over by water, but likely the mountaintop was removed somehow during the flood, which certainly Yahuwah can do. And it seems the same, appears the same here with this mountain, because we certainly don't see a mountain anywhere on earth which reaches heaven. Not anywhere. There's nowhere. Even Mount Everest, it reaches into the sky, but nowhere near heaven, right? So you just couldn't say that about any mountain. It wouldn't be a fair characterization at all. It'd be a stretch for someone to try it, and of course some may attempt. But we are after the flood here, and this is fascinating, and it will become evident just where this is very soon, and it's going to blow your mind. Verse 4, And as for this fragrant tree, no mortal is permitted to touch it till the great judgment. Now that's a change from when Adam and Eve were in the garden. Adam and Eve were in the garden, right? The tree that they couldn't touch was the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? But no, this is the tree of life, and they were touching it, they were eating it. In fact, they could even touch the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That was a misstatement by Eve when she answered Satan, the serpent, which eating of it in our fallen state, according to Yahuwah, in the garden account, would lead to disaster. So we don't do that. But we're not supposed to even touch the tree of life. Now, we can't even get to it, right? There's 2 angels or more guarding the garden. We're not getting in. So it's not going to happen. Enoch's in there, and you don't know exactly how all of that works with full function, but he's there. When he shall take vengeance on all and bring everything to its consummation forever. So this is an exact match to all of Scripture, especially in Revelation. It shall then be given to the righteous and holy. Again, that's another exact match to Scripture, several Scriptures actually, and both serve as the origin first published, 1st Enoch. Let's see. This is a match in really the origin of Revelation 2, verse 7. Messiah is speaking here. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is where? As of Revelation, which is in the midst of the paradise of Elohim. Now this is the Garden of Eden. Yes, the tree of life remains there. Again, watch our video. Is the garden still there? If you want all of the Scriptures on that, we cover all of them there, not here. So don't try to debate here. Our channel, our rules, you will be muted if you try. So even after the day of judgment, it's still there right now. So Enoch would know because, well, he's there too, and we prove that in Where Did Enoch Go? Watch it, and again, debate over there if you wish to try. Our channel, our rules, you'll be muted on this video if you attempt to debate that side note. We will still make them, and we're always going to make them, and I'm not going to be told, oh, we shouldn't. That's enough. Our channel, our rules, get it, respect it, period. Revelation 22:2. In the midst of the street of it, and that's New Jerusalem, you can read it in context, read the whole chapter, you'll see. And on either side of the river was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, there you go, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. Again, this matches 1st Enoch, and 1st Enoch is the origin. And Revelation 22:14, blessed are they that do his commandments. This is in the last days. Yes, still the same 10, because the 10 were preached by Messiah, and all 10 were preached by Paul and the apostles, period. We cover that in Rest, the case for Sabbath, where we cover over 1,000 scriptural references, hundreds of historical references that all lead to the Sabbath still remains to this day, as do these 10 commandments. And there it is in Revelation. Still here today, even in the very end times. So why is any church saying otherwise? Well, they don't represent the Bible, and that's a fact. That they may have right to the tree of life, there it is again, and may enter in through the gates into the city. Now that's New Jerusalem, which will come down on top of the Garden of Eden, which is far more important than modern Israel in the end times. Sorry, but it is. That's just factual. And let's go to 2nd Esdras, and we'll see the same. Chapter 8, verse 52. If you have your book, open it up, check it out. But here it is on screen. Paradise opened, so the Garden of Eden is opened, right? So that means it's still there. The tree of life is planted. Well, it's been planted since the garden was planted. Let's be clear. It's always been there, but it's still planted right there. Don't read that any other way, because you can't. In fact, we just read scripture that says very clearly it's still there. And then 2nd Esdras 2, 11 and 12. Their glory also will I take unto me, and give these the everlasting tabernacles, in other words, new bodies. We shed our temporary ones at physical death, which return to dust. Even in the rapture in the end, the same thing happens. Our spirits are raptured. Our bodies must return to dust, because that is the rule throughout Scripture. And that's clear. Which I had prepared for them. I mean, you don't need the old body, you're getting a new one. So, verse 12. They shall have the tree of life for an ointment of sweet savor. They shall neither labor nor be weary. So 2nd Esdras also serves as the origin of portions of the detail of Revelation, no doubt. In this, while 1st Enoch serves as the origin of the concept in whole for both 2nd Esdras and Revelation. Wow! Back to 1st Enoch. Still in chapter 25, verse 5. Its fruit shall tow for food to the elect. Didn't we just read that? I believe we did in Revelation, and this is its origin. Right here. Wow. 1st Enoch. Even if we use the fraudulent, illiterate rabbi dating of a copy, which is pretty dumb, that's 200 years before Messiah, thus still the origin. And before Revelation was written, so it's the origin. They can't get away from that, period. Sorry. Just can't do it. Now, they can't redefine this by such stupid dating to marginalize that 1st Enoch is the origin of Revelation, which is very obvious. Even R.H. Charles knew that, by the way, and there's no doubting that, although, of course, in his scholarly way, he tried to distance himself so he wouldn't be discredited, and he probably would have been. That's probably true, just as they will be today if they agreed with the God culture. But you know what? If that is modern scholarship, who needs it? Forget it. It shall be transplanted to the holy place. Oh, wait a minute. Now, see, the tree of life was moved. No, the Garden of Eden is still there. We've shown that in several scriptures. The tree of life is still in the midst of the garden, as it says in several scriptures. That cannot change here. You don't read scripture that way. Now, here's what we understand. New Jerusalem comes down from heaven. It is what moves, and it will come over this holy place. It will become the holy place at that time. So, to the temple of Yahuwah, the eternal King. So, No, the tree of life is not moved. That's ridiculous. It is New Jerusalem that moves. It comes down from heaven over the garden, for one. It's so massive in size, in fact, it's larger than some continents. Okay, so this is a massive, massive thing coming down from heaven. Wow. Understand that. Then shall they rejoice with joy and be glad. And into the holy place shall they enter. Remember, the garden is already the holy place of sort because his Holy of Holies is there. Yahuwah's Holy of Holies on all of earth is in the Garden of Eden. Since its planting in the very beginning at creation in the first week. Now, we've already covered that in Answers and Jubilees, so if you want to debate the timing, go over there and watch. Jubilees comes right out and tells you what day it was planted. Done. And its fragrance shall be in their bones. Wow. Think about that. And they shall live a long life on earth, such as the fathers lived. The patriarchs of Enoch's day, when this was written, 900 plus years, and he'll be clear and define this as eternally. Don't worry. So basically, we read this in context of what Enoch says, otherwise as 900 years and beyond. That's what he's saying there. It's just a marker. It's not a final. And that's just fact. Enoch's very clear on that many times. And in their days shall be no sorrow or plague or torment or calamity touch them. So there we are again. Language from 2nd Esdras and Revelation, right there in origin in 1st Enoch. Verse 7. Then blessed I the Elohim of glory, the eternal King, who hath prepared such things for the righteous, and hath created them, and promised to give to them. Notice how Enoch was always all about the righteous. Ezra was corrected by the angel and Yahuwah for thinking of the nation of Israel as a whole instead of focusing on the righteous. And the righteous include the Gentile among them, even in the Exodus, and we have well covered at this point. Gentiles have never been excluded from Yahuwah's plan, and that is stupid scholarship, and it's in most churches, especially denominational ones, and it is lunacy. It is not Bible. Yes, the nation of Israel was the first and only to enter covenant, thus extremely significant as a people, and follow the people, who are, well, for the most part, not in Israel today, but scattered to be united again in the end under Yahusha, the vine, which modern Israel fails every prophecy. Yeah, it does, if you really look into it. Watch our Lost Tribes series. We cover that, folks, in such great detail. It will change your understanding greatly. We are warming up here as we get through the journey of Enoch to come. Enoch will locate the Garden of Eden from multiple angles, and we already entrenched with Jubilees, Genesis, and history, and no one has been able to debate that at this point already. By the end of this series, there is nothing to discuss on the matter. This isn't just some historian who said blah, blah, blah. This is the first great prophet, as well as Noah, in Jubilees. No one can actually argue with them. They went to the Garden of Eden. They know where it is. They lived in that land. No modern scholar has, nor do they remotely qualify as experts on the topic, and we've well proven that. Just read The Search for King Solomon's Treasure, and you will see many things that the Bible dictionaries tell us that are outright wrong and fraudulent, period. And it's disgusting, and we show such rebuke and outrage and will continue to. We aren't either, which is why we rely on the ancient texts to draw conclusions, not our own. What is sad is modern scholars, including those trying to pretend to be, such as illiterate criminal bloggers, agitating communists, Jesuits, and Jewish trolls, for instance, that remain illiterate and cannot draw a conclusion from anything coherent, so they say, nuh-uh, yeah, okay, whatever. Well, that's really grown up, right? And the only challenge, really, we've received. How ridiculous. We will get there soon, though, and this series will settle this once and for all, though we really have already proven it. We have over 400 videos on this channel, one for every day of the year now, many just as profound, with some 50 or so in Tagalog for Filipinos, and now 6 in Spanish to start. We also have been setting up subtitles for 20-plus languages for most of our videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell for notifications of new uploads. But when YouTube fails to notify you, which they will definitely do, as a rule, it seems, join our email list. Go to thegodculture.com, fill in the pop-up there, and we will notify you ourselves when we have uploads and book launches. We now have alternative platforms for videos on Rumble, Odyssey, and Utreon. And our new podcast is also available for all of our videos as well. All links in the description box. Friend us on Facebook at The God Culture _space original. If you prefer an alternative to Facebook, we also have Parler, link below. We now have 6 books published internationally, being read in over 100 countries. With our new release, the first book of Enoch, the oldest book in history, and we prove it. It certainly is. We also have now launched Ophir Philippines Coffee Table Book in the US, Canada, UK, and many overseas markets on Amazon, and it is available in hardcover or softcover there. Additionally, we launched the Book of Jubilees, the Torah calendar, with color maps and interiors overseas, as many as have requested. We already have that in the Philippines, so no problem here. But it's available on Amazon in hardcover or softcover in color, both, or you can also still get it in black and white, as many have. All books, including Solomon's Treasure, are now free in eBook. Our content, folks, is free. Just go to ophirinstitute.com for all the links for your area for all of our books. More coming soon. Thank you for watching. Now, always remember, prove all things for yourself. Yah bless to everyone.